character who ends up building a golem. Mel, his friend, and Katz, his four-legged, tailed, long-eared house companion. The hint is given to him at a poker game, which he goes to at night, and the only reason he's out at night is because somebody is taking him around. It's taking place in the Bronx sometime after 9/11. At this point, Schlemmi's already built the little mock-up of his Clayman, and this one he'll be building. The first step was to build the golem using a box laid on the kitchen floor. The setup would be like a gelatin mold, with pipes instead of fruit pieces. Schlemmi would have tried to set up the pipes in a standing human form, but he was afraid the clay would just slide off. The hard part would be to get the 1 by 12-inch boards past the building manager. Each one was 6 feet long, and he did 6 of them. 1 for the sidewall, 3 for the base, and 1 cut in half replacement at the head and foot. It cost Schlemmi an extra quarter for the guy at the lumberyard to cut the last board. After screwing it all together, he filled the areas that wouldn't be the golem with sand in order to shape the mold. Next, he purchased a heavyweight plastic drop cloth to cover the interior and make the box watertight. For that, he needed to borrow a staple gun. "So what you need the gun for?" Mel asked. "I'm reupholstering my dining room chairs," Schlemmi answered. "They're plastic." "I shouldn't want them to be comfortable?" Got him the gun. When he finished the box, Schlemmi stood there and admired his work. All he could think of was Bela Lugosi coming out of his coffin. It gave him the shivers. So, what's so different about a golem coming alive and getting out of the box? No neck wounds. Great. Schlemmi dropped 2 shopping bags on the floor outside the doorway to his apartment. He slowly opened and closed his hands, helping relieve the stiffness caused by carrying close to 30 pounds of clay home from the construction site that had once been the Twin Towers. The trek home strained his entire body. "I hope I got enough. One of these days, someone's going to catch me, and I'm going to have to explain what the hell I need the clay for." He opened the door a crack and flipped the wall switch to turn on the floor lamp at the far side of his living room. Schlemmi slid the 2 bags into the doorway, forming a barricade to keep Katz from dashing out the door. "Back! Back! You really don't want to go out into the hall. The building manager's pit bull would love to have you for dinner." Katz lifted his forepaws and scratched his master's leg. Schlemmi cursed himself for not trimming the cat's claws more often. "Bad cat! If you cut me and I get sick, who's going to feed you? What was the reason you moved you in with me?" "Now I remember," he continued his tirade with the cat. "You're here to keep me company, not be a pain. You should pardon the expression, tuchus." Schlemmi cracked as he again lifted the bags through the general chaos of the living room and dragged them into his bathroom. The scale told him he finally had over 150 pounds of clay. Now he could begin. When he turned on the plastic Tiffany lamp hanging over the breakfast table in his kitchen, only 2 of the 3 bulbs lit up. Schlemmi took in a deep breath and shook his head. He dragged the last 2 bags of clay across the cracked tile floor and placed them in the corner next to the other 6. Clay taken from the city's sacred sites. When God created Adam, he went to sacred sites. 150 pounds should be enough, after all. I'm 150 pounds. Next to the bag was the 6-foot by 3-foot open-top box. Katz sat in the middle of the box with his "it's mine" look on his face. Schlemmi figured there was no purpose in shooing the cat away. Beyond the box were a pair of 3-foot stacks of newspapers. Newspapers were the key. Schlemmi had gotten the idea one Sunday after schlepping the Times home and putting it on the pile by his favorite chair. "Paper mache is the answer to my problem, Katz. I'll build the curves of the golem's backside using paper mache." Schlemmi stared at the pile of newspapers. "I haven't used paper mache since I was in grade school. Do you have any idea how to make the paste, Katz?" Schlemmi figured one of his friend's wives would know the recipe for paper mache, at least the ones with grandchildren. It was almost like making bread. Flour, water, a pinch of salt. What could be easier? The hard part was to figure out the correct proportions of the goo. before dipping in the newspaper strips. It was like the story of the three bears. This one's too thick. This one's too thin. This one is just like Bubby used to make. Only thing was, his grandmother never made paper mache. He used it himself as a prototype. Shlomi would have preferred to use someone larger, but who else would put up with lying in a box and having someone put slimy newspaper strips all over his body? Shlomi built up a comfortable base to compensate for the shape of the golem's back and tuchus, and then filled it to the left and to the right of the body, and finally above the head and below the feet. The problem was getting it precise. The exact curve of his back and tuchus and the contours of his arms, legs, head, and the hands and feet had to actually be functional. Stripping down to his gathas was fine, but it would leave a seam marks from his fruit and the looms. Shlomi realized he'd have to strip naked to get it right. It would also take a case of aerosol cooking oil. But what type? Olive oil, of course. Shemen zayis is what they used for anointing in the Bible. Only that would be good enough for his golem. Leah, you never got that kinky. To get the shape right for his various body parts, Shlomi wove himself paper mache in pot holder sizes. He sprayed the front of his legs thoroughly with oil and laid himself down in the box. Wrapping the coated area, he read a book until it became rock hard. The process was repeated for his feet, his back, his tuchus, his arms, and then finally the back of his head. This is going to take forever to wash out of my hair. Okay, not much hair, not much time. The hands and feet took small strips. He continued the process with his face and the rest of his head. It wasn't long before Shlomi started on the golem's torso when he realized he was going to need a lot more clay than 150 pounds he had. Clay was a lot denser and heavier than human flesh and bone. Look at those hands and feet, cats. They look like flippers from that cockamamie fish man from the deep. Cats looked at Shlomi with his emerald green eyes. You know, from the movies we watched Saturday night. Cat continued to stare at. Forget it. Shlomi started making casts of his own hands and feet to replace the flippers. Break. Bizz. A sound woke Shlomi from sleep. Bizz. What time is it? He opened his eyes to the darkness. It can't be that late. Disoriented, he took Shlomi a moment to realize he was wearing a paper mache mask he had made of his own face. Wow, must have dozed off. Shlomi's fingers explored the mask with great care to make sure it was solid as he placed it on the floor next to where he was lying. Before he could get up, he found cats licking the oil and salt from his cheek. Shlomi stared at the cat as he groomed the fur around his own mouth. Not tasty enough, Mr. Connoisseur? Traipsing over to the front door, he punched the buzzer with his thumb and grumbled into the microphone. Who's there? Shlomi, it's me, Mel. Come on down, we're late for shul. You're supposed to be waiting for me on the stoop. Mel, I'm sorry. I must have dozed off. Shlomi then remembered he'd coated his face with olive oil before putting on the paper mache. Down in a minute, I have to wash my face. Wash your face? You're going to synagogue, not out on a date. What's your hurry? It's not like they're waiting for you to be the 10th man of the minyan to start services. I'll be down in a minute. As he walked to the bathroom, Shlomi picked up the mask and looked inside. The paper mache had been pretty wet when he put it on his face. Every wrinkle showed. Maybe I can make the golem look younger by smoothing out the wrinkles. Shlomi eased the soda straws out of the nostrils of the mask as he placed it on the kitchen counter. Break. Shlomi gazed at his near-finished creation, still prone in its box. His eyes wandered to the clay man's nether region. If it's supposed to look like a man, maybe, perhaps, it should have a schwanz? He averted his eyes. Jewish men aren't supposed to look at each other's things. His eyes strayed back again. Maybe we should have this? Last part